Okay, getting ready for round 3. Um, yeah, I um, I definitely think I feel positive about this list. I think it's been performing very well for me, and I think it's attacking the meta well. I think um, hedging our lands for Murktide is the right thing to do, considering how much Murktide there is. So that means running 4 caverns in the 75 with at least 2 main deck, and a main deck Bajuka Bog. I think that's just sort of the Murktide world we live in. This is an obvious mole, I feel like. It doesn't have any ramp. I don't keep hands without ramp. Yeah, we keep turn 2 hands. I guess this is probably not going to be a very informative video series if I keep killing all my opponents on turn 2. Maybe blue-white control. Okay, so we'll at least get a game here. Good. I think I'm going to do Azusa here because I expect whatever I do is going to get countered, and Azusa is a more efficient use of my mana because I can't do Amulet and Azusa if the Amulet gets countered, which I fully expect it to. Okay. I'm also seeing like potentially my opponent could like 3 mana to Teferi here, and then like if they 3 mana to Teferi, I draw the Grazer. All of a sudden, I'm like winning. Um, hmm. Part of me just wants to like go for Titan, like just hope they don't have another counter spell, but they don't have Prismatic Ending, or they would have cast it. So like their hand has to have counterspell. But I'm gonna have to get through the counterspells eventually anyway. Okay, that's fine for me. I'd much rather the counterspell be aimed at some useless amulet than like an actual thing. So there's some thought to playing the Gruul Turf here in the event my opponent top decks a Chalice of the Void for 0. But also there's like the consideration of spreading seas. And also in this way, I'm not revealing to my opponent necessarily that I have the potential to Titan. They don't know about the Gruul Turf specifically, so they might see this as like an opportunity to resolve a Planeswalker. Okay, so if I draw a Grazer or an well, I guess there's no Azusa's left in the deck, but if I draw a Grazer, I can go for Titan here. Okay, no Grazer. Um, I want to open up the possibility to Titan, even if I don't... Even if my opponent removes the amulet, which I think is a high probability at this point. Yeah, that would have been a great turn for, like, Grazer or Karn. Expect this is getting countered, but I don't think I could just wait around for the cavern forever. Yeah, and at least they're not drawing 2 cards off this Archmage Charm now. We do die to Spreading Seas here. Our deck gets just much, much, much better games 2 and 3 once we get to go up to 4 caverns. And add the Cultivator Colossus. Our opponent hasn't been able to really get ahead in any meaningful way as well. They missed a land drop, so they just have to have a hand that's just all action. Just like a bunch of counter magic. We'll play the Saga. Maybe they bounce the Saga with the Teferi. That wouldn't be the end of the world for us. At least the Teferi would be off the table, which puts them back in a position where they have to choose whether or not to play Teferi or hold up interaction. Unfortunately, like Prismatic or March of Other Worldly Light is a really good answer for them, which most of them are playing a lot of copies of now. Ice Fang Waddle. Don't see that one a lot. Ending the amulet, that's fine. I'd like if we could get this Saga into a map for Cavern. Okay, opponent paying something big. Okay, so we basically have to top deck Titan or Karn this turn to have any shot. Yeah, I would have been surprised if they plus Jace there, because they don't know about this Grazer in our hand, and it would be just so sort of like wild to just assume we have nothing. Guess I'll play the land they know about. Just trying to hold back information, because at this point information is pretty valuable, because once they realize that they can just start plussing on us, then we don't get to top deck anymore and the game is over. I assume they just have a handful of action and we're just dead, though. So we'll attack the Jace. 0% chance this actually works, but probably should have tapped our lands differently. Maybe I gave away too much information by tapping down my green sources. I mean, this game, they've had an active Jace too long for this game to matter. But I'll play it out. We have a time advantage, so might as well also use their clock. Yeah, that's expected. So I'm not actually going to search for the cavern off the expedition map end of turn, because there's a chance that, so like, there's a good chance we don't draw a Titan. And then also if we do, we have the mana to cast it. Teferi, okay. But also, like, I kind of want to be able to, like, shuffle if there's a Jace plus. So my plan, basically, like, the way that I have any hope in this game, which is already at, like, much less than 1%. is essentially just top decking Titan after Titan and grabbing sagas off those Titans, which I cast uncounterably. But we're also getting near the Jace, or near the Teferi ult, so... Okay, they used the Jace, so now I map for Cavern. Okay, now I'm just probably in F6 mode to save time. Just save time, see as much of my opponent's deck as I can, pretend I have a Cultivator Colossus in my deck when I don't. Say do this, waste some time. I mean, it's not even necessarily also that I'm wanting to clock my opponent, but having a time advantage will cause my opponent to be under more time pressure as they try and make their decisions in game 2 and 3, which makes them more likely to make a mistake. And once again, if I conceded now, I'd be giving away the information that I don't have Cultivator Colossus in my deck, because casting an uncounterable Cultivator Colossus is like... Well, I guess now I'm never casting a Cultivator Colossus. But I will at least get as much information about their deck as they're willing to give me. Okay. Yeah, Jace is tricky. So I want the caverns, don't want the bog, don't want sagas 2 and 3, want the cultivator. Don't want the radiant fountain, do want the Beseiju. I kind of like 1 endurance if I can fit it. Maybe I'm okay without it though. Yeah, I don't think I want to go below 31 lands. I don't want to cut any of my ramp. I don't want to cut any of my threats. So we'll do without the endurance. It's kind of I think a fine one of sometimes to like play on opponent's end step, pressure planeswalkers. Yeah, we'll keep this. Gonna name Beast on the cavern because I think there's a high probability that the the amulet gets prismatic ending, and if the amulet gets prismatic ending and then I draw a grazer, I want to be able to play it. And if I do end up wanting to play like a Dryad, for example, on turn 2, they're not going to have the mana to counter it anyway, so there's no reason to have Cavern on Nymph here. Yeah. So now we'll go to Cavern on Giant. So they really need to either remove the amulet or the Dryad, or they're going to be in rough shape. That'll do. I'd really like to draw a non-bounce land here so that I can curve Karn into Titan. Well, guess that's how it goes. Guess I'll play the Capsule. It looks more like I'm threatening Titan, so more likely to leave up counter magic, less likely to play something. I think I'm okay with this Karn getting countered. I think I want to use my mana efficiently here. So force them to use their counter spell. Oh, they don't have a counter spell. Okay. They could be getting Ice Fang here, but that doesn't pressure the Karn fast enough for me to care. What do I want to grab? It's probably Coding, right? It's also a temptation to just grab Amulet. There's also a temptation to grab Walking Ballista because I'm so much expecting Coatl right now. I'm gonna grab Walking Ballista. They didn't have the Coatl. Okay. So now we get to grab Amulet and play Titan. Okay. Let's Cavern here on Construct. Plain Amulet of Vigor. Play the Primeval Titan. I think I'm going to go for haste. If their last two cards are a Solitude white card, that's not 100% the end of the world for us, because we'll just get to cast an uncounterable Ballista next turn. And even haste it. Like, there's even still some value in the Slayers. Guess I'll bounce. Okay. Yeah. Got there. Nice thing about Karn, I think my Karn applied pressure and made my opponent feel like they had to tap out. Given my opponent is on Jaces, maybe that makes me want Endurance more. Just as like something to pressure Jace, and it also like blocks Quaddles, which can attack Karn. I think I can cut a land on the draw. Like, cut a castle. I mean, castle was great. Like, knock out of the park, great there. But generally, it's not great when we're doing 4 Cavern of Souls. Could do something like this. I don't hate this on the draw. Endurance can also, like, shuffle back in the Talaria West, shuffle back in the Urza Sagas, which can be valuable. Shuffle back in the Expedition map. I think this is too slow. If it had a Cavern, I would keep it, but okay. Not excited about this hand, but I think it's better than the average 5. Map can potentially be a Cavern of Souls. Honestly, I think I'd rather have my Amulet exiled than my map, so I'm gonna lead on the Amulet. Haven't really seen any hate pieces from our opponent yet. Don't know exactly what sort of sideboard they have for this matchup, if any. See if they counter this. If they do, I'll play Talaria West with the plan of transmuting, playing Simic next turn to transmute the Talaria for a Cavern. March on map. Okay. Or march on Amulet. See what they're doing here. Well, if we get a 3-mana ramp spell, if we get really any ramp spell, we can punish them for this play. But if we don't have ramp, this looks really good for them. Do I take this moment to resolve a Dryad? It's very tempting. It does leave me dead to Spreading Seas or Field of the Dead. Which is scary. And we do have, like, an expedition map that can grab Cavern of Souls, that can just make these Primeval Titans uncounterable. I guess there's not too much reason for me to play risky here, so I won't. I guess Jace is the reason to play risky. Chalice, another reason I guess I could have played differently. Okay, I'm thinking about holding off on getting Cavern. My thought process being, if my opponent taps out for a Jace, I can map for Castle Garenbrig. I should have bounced the Beseju there. But I'm mostly just, like, making my opponent not allowed to grab Jace, to play Jace here. So we have a very straightforward game plan. The game plan being grab Cavern of Souls, play Titan, play Titan. Dress down. That's a good one. Definitely a good one. See if they have Solitude or what they have to back up this dress down. If it's a Supreme Verdict with the dress down, I think we're okay. If they have Solitude and are still able to hold up another piece of interaction for our next Titan, we might be in trouble. They might be in a position here where they think they're safe to, like, cast Solitude and then bounce it with Teferi. But I think that would actually ultimately be good for us, because we'd get to play the other Titan and then ultimately end up getting to Beseju the Chalice and do more things. Teferi. Teferi is scary. So I think this Teferi really just needs to go. So I'm tempted with this Primeval Titan to get some Valakutes. Or Valakut. Could be Valakut Vesuva on Bounce Land. How many counter spells do I expect them to be able to cast in a turn? It could be Valakut Cavern on Dryad, but I think they'll probably have a removal spell. I think I want to get Valakut Vesuva on Simic Growth Chamber. Bounce the Vesuva. Play the Saga. I think this leaves me a lot of different options. Okay, I think this is what I want to see, actually. Feels weird to say that. But, like, I think my opponent should have mana troubles to the point that I don't think they can stop me. They probably won't be able to stop me from attacking with Primeval Titan, playing 2 Dryads, and Vesuving Valakuting down these planeswalkers. Okay, so first I'm going to move to combat. Three cards exiled to March the Titan. Probably means they don't have Solitude, I would have to assume. Okay, I have 2 land plays remaining. I can get 1 trigger as a bounce land, 2 triggers as a Valakut, and then 2 triggers as a Valakut again. So I think I'm supposed to go for lethal here because they either have the interaction or they don't. It's like they're either they have the Solitude. Fun match, yeah. Control matches can be tricky. I think we navigated that well, though. I feel good about my plays. You know, of course, you feel like a genius playing the 4 Cavern of Souls deck against the control. You know, it's not exactly 100% play my plays. It's also just being a 4 Cavern of Souls deck. So I shouldn't pat myself on the back too much, but yeah, I think that went well. I'll see everyone next round.